The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer of sports talk and a whole lot more. Join host Brent Radlinsky as he bellies up to the bar and gets the conversations going that'll make you think you're sitting in your local watering hole. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans, so sit back, grab a few beers, and let's get in. All right, 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer of sports talk and a whole lot more. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com, 1420seat at SeatGeek.com. Today I got to get that one straightened out in my head. Been saying pod for so long, but it's 1420seat at SeatGeek.com, and save yourself $20 over there at SeatGeek. Remember, we're a part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great articles and other podcasts. It's my guys over there at the Corner Booth Podcast, and my favorites on Tuesday nights. Won't be watching this Tuesday because there's a certain baseball game that I'll be watching, but the guys over at Craft Boot Sports, make sure you follow them up on YouTube. And thank you for everybody who watches us on a daily basis, listens to us in the podcast form, and happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian friends up here. And for those of you down south, it's Thanksgiving for us up here in Canada. Well, the championship series are all set now. You got the Dodgers and the Mets starting tonight. Sunday night baseball should be a beauty of a series. That one's going to be a knock 'em out, drag 'em out kind of thing. Thank you very much once again to Ryan Finkelstein for joining us from the Locked On Mets podcast. That should be up now on the podcast form. It is already up on YouTube, so make sure you check that out. Ryan was gracious enough to come on the show on Friday afternoon. He's a busy guy out there with the Mets. And then yesterday I had Aaron from Brutally on the Sports. We had a great talk about baseball and just a lot of ins and outs and this and that's about the world of baseball, and not just the playoffs, but just how the game of baseball has it hasn't been marketed properly. But anyways, but the big thing is Yankees 8 wins away from getting themselves to to winning a World Series, 4 from getting to the World Series. They got the Cleveland Guardians up against them. The Guardians finally got through yesterday with the pesky Detroit Tigers team. Fantastic game, grand slam to win it. It was kind of hard to believe the way the Tigers, I thought the Roar of 24 was alive and well, but that one, it's all over for the Detroit Tigers. They're in next year land. They went a lot further than people thought. They had a great run from middle of August on, but it just came up against a Cleveland team that has been great all season long. They've been in first place in that American League Central. They've been a playoff contender for a lot of years. They've had a lot of damage. They had to 2015 or 16, with the World Series loss to the Cubs, one of the greatest World Series ever played. That 10th inning, the way that all played out at Wrigley Field or at Jacobs Field, a Progressive Field now, but I'll still call it the Jake, from back in the early 90s when that place first got opened up and was one of the retro ballparks that came about, and those great teams back then. Yankees, they got through, should have gotten through maybe in 3. We're lucky to get through in 4. The way that series kind of played out, they shouldn't have won game 1. Cole wasn't good, but they are through. I'm not going to complain. So now it's a level the playing field for all 4 teams. Now it's a race to 8, and we're going to get to 8 to find themselves to be a world champion. The Yankees, you got to think are favorites going into that series with Cleveland, but you never know what Cleveland can do. A team with nothing to lose is a scary team. And I don't really like that term, nothing to lose, because you know what? If you lose a series, you lost. And so when you have nothing to lose, it means you really didn't have a whole bunch to gain. And when you have something to gain, that means you have something to lose. I know I kind of talked in circles a little bit there, but it made sense in my little brain. The Cleveland Guardians have a very, very good team. They have a very good bullpen. On the back end, you have Emmanuel Clase, who's been second to Mariano Rivera kind of deal. He got that grand slam hit off him, so his stats are a little bit skewed, but he gave that 0.63 ERA throughout the regular season, and that's hard to do in today's baseball. It's all or nothing, late innings, and the way this guy throws, he's throwing a cutter that's going 98 to 100 miles an hour, and it moves at the end. It's pretty almost impossible to hit, but it can be done. So the Yankees, you got to think they have to get their bats going. They were pretty silent throughout the playoffs so far. The only guy who's really got anything going so far has been Giancarlo Stanton. And for those of you who listen to this show or talk to me in person, you know that I'm not the biggest Stanton guy, but Stanton's been very, very good in the playoffs over the years for the Yankees. So for him to continue to be hot is very important important. And then the next thing is Aaron Judge going to finally get off the schneid a little bit and see if he can't do a little bit of damage of his own, because if he doesn't, they can all of a sudden keep pitching to him because he hasn't done anything, and then pitch around Soto. So now you have to have Stanton carrying the load for the Yankees on this Cleveland team, and Cleveland's got a lot of playoff pedigree over the years. You remember back. Like the thing is with that Cleveland team is they've had a lot of really, really good squads over the years. You go back, I got a little video here for those of you watching on YouTube. You think about that 1997 ALDS team. They had some great teams in Cleveland. The stats were hard to. You had Tomei, Vizquel, Alomar, Marquise Grissom, Manny Ramirez on those teams, and they stopped the Yankees after that first World Series in '96. Probably could have stopped a long thing. The next year, the Yankees got back in it. They got back on the winning side of things. '98 for the first of 3 consecutive World Championships. 2007, who can forget the job of Chamberlain, the Midge game? I still don't understand why Joe Torre didn't call a timeout, and just everybody on the field would have understood why they wouldn't continue that game. The midges were the downfall of that Yankee dynasty to get something going. 2017, one of the all-time best 5-game playoffs ever. Who can forget Greg Bird at Andrew Miller for the 1-0 win in that game, and then Didi with the 2 home runs in Game 5 for the Yankees to get that 2017 run that the Yankees had was unbelievable, and they had to go through Cleveland first. So there's a lot of history with these two teams. 2020 or 2020, the COVID year, the Yankees get the one win to get through. Then 2022, rocking the baby. The went 5 games. The Yankees probably should have won that game, but there was the same kind of club that the Yankees are going to face right now with Cleveland. Everybody thought that they were going to roll through the Cleveland Guardians. I think they're still the Indians at that time. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it's all going to play out with these New York Yankees and Cleveland Guardians, because eventually the Guardians kind of have to pull one off, you would think, and get something on their side to maybe get themselves into the World Series and a little redemption for losing in 2016. They haven't won for a very, very long time, probably the longest streak in baseball right now. So you have to think that Cleveland's their fan base and the team is a little bit hungry. And if you can beat the Yankees, that's probably a icing on the cake, I guess, or a cherry on top of everything else, because you go through the best. You can say, we beat the best. There's no excuses. So this should be a very, very interesting series. You got to give it to the Yankees. They're the best team in the American League throughout the playoffs. Or throughout the regular season. Now they're in the playoffs. They haven't really had. There hasn't been much momentum for the Yankees thus far, the way it's all played out. They started out last Saturday. They started to play the first game. Kind of a dull game with the walks and everything else. And Bob Costas, don't get me started on that. That was awful. TBS should be ashamed of themselves the way they. And it's not all Costas' fault. The production value of that, the way that was played out, which just hasn't been good. But you got to think that the Yankees, they don't have any momentum on their side. The way their playoff schedule has worked out so far. They played on Saturday, didn't play again until Monday. Tuesday off again. Wednesday, Thursday. Then it was over. So there hasn't been a bunch of hype and a bunch of momentum for the Yankees so far. And with Cleveland going that extra game, you used a pitcher here, you used a pitcher there, but they got a day off in between, and now it's like, I don't care if you're hurt, get out there and pitch. We're ready to go. So it should be interesting to see if the Yankees and their fans can get some momentum going behind them and get a little bit of juice back in what they got going on, because it's really going to be interesting to see how it all plays out with their pitching staff. I'll get into that in half a second, what I would do with that pitching staff. But you got to think that well, let's get in the pitching staff right now. Right now, I would not go with Rodon at all. I would leave Rodon out of the rotation 100%. He would not be anywhere near that pitcher's mound at Yankee Stadium or at Progressive Field. I would not have Rodon anywhere near that mound. That guy's really soft between the ears. I wouldn't have him maybe out of a bullpen situation, but I would not have him starting a game. He was great the other night in game 2, I think it was, struck out the side, and then he was pumpernickel the whole bit, and then he gave up a home run in the 4th, and then that was it. The guy's softer than baby crap between the ears, and he just doesn't have it. I wouldn't have him anywhere near the mound. What I would do is I would go in, and this is going to be odd to hear myself say, I would go with Schmidt in game 1. Leave Rodon out of it. Like I said, go with Schmidt in game one. He was really good in his start in the DS versus the Kansas City Royals. Cole is slated for game two, so that's a lock. It'll be Cole's third start of these playoffs. So I would guarantee I would get him in as early as you can. Maybe get that first or second win, pending what happens in game one. But lock that. You get your best guy. You got to go run with the big dog on Tuesday night. Have him in there. Lock down that victory. Not guaranteed victory, but it gives yourself a better chance to win that game. Then I go with Heel or Nestor Cortez, depending on how his shoulder is. Maybe give Cortez the extra day. So go Heel in game three. Doesn't hurt you. Go in there. Don't have your win expectancy too high or too low, but you go with Heel on game three, Nestor Cortez game four. Then you go back to Schmidt again in game five if necessary. Game six. On the road, you go back with Cole. Game seven, you go with Heel, and then what you do is you have a bullpen game and just eat out. So get the first 1 to 27 outs, and that's all you got to do. That's how I would put together that rotation for the Yankees in these playoffs, because you got to remember their bullpen's been really good. Their bullpen has been like everybody talks about Class A and this vaunted Cleveland bullpen. The Yankees with Holmes and Conley and Weaver on the back end, they haven't given up a run. They didn't give up a run in the series against Kansas City. So you gotta give a bit of a pat in the back where it's due for this Yankee club and their bullpen, and they got to start strutting around like a peacock a little bit, saying we're just as good as anybody in baseball. We have a chance to do something here, and nobody's going to touch us. And if their starters can get a little bit of length and they can shut things down, get into the 6th, 7th inning, and then bang, boom, see you later. The games are going to be over because the Cleveland team doesn't hit nearly as well as the Yankees, and the Yankees don't hit at all. So it's going to come down to pitching. And in playoff baseball always comes down to pitching. There's no getting around that. I don't expect the Yankees to struggle as much as they have. And a guy who's been really good for the Yankees in these playoffs, and he kind of gets a bum rap because he plays the game kind of like Cano did, is Gleyber Torres. Torres was decent enough. He got a few hits, hit a couple of home runs in the DS, and give him credit where credit's due. I think that he's got a really good shot at doing something. And a guy who might be the dark horse in this. In every playoff, there's a guy who hasn't done a whole bunch, or doesn't do much in one round, and then go on to the next. And all of a sudden, he gets a hit here and a hit there, like Greg Bird, 2017, off of Andrew Miller. Whoever forgets that one? I remember exactly where it was. Actually, it was 2017, so it was 7 years ago. Thanksgiving weekend, I was in Salmon Arm, BC, watching the game with my brother. My whole family actually was there, and we stayed the extra day. We were watching my nephew's hockey tournament in Salmon Arm, and we all stuck around before we went for Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, Thanksgiving in Canada is a little bit different time than it is down the States. So Thanksgiving dinner, we were watching the game a little bit, and Bird hit that home run to make it 1-0 in the 7th inning, I think it was, and I was jumping up and down like me and my brother were just down there a few weeks prior to when the regular season ended against the Jays that weekend, and so we were full Yankee momentum going there and jumping around the hotel room in Salmon Arm, BC when Miller hit that home run. And who can forget, like I talked earlier on, Didi getting those 2 home runs in Game 5. Yankees coming back from 2-0 down to win that one, and then move on to the no good cheating Astros, and the rest of history. I forgive him, but I'll never forget. But anyways, you got to think that a guy like maybe Jazz Chisholm Jr., who's flapping his gums a little bit more than I like. I don't really like guys. If you flap your gums, it's one thing, but if you don't back it up, that's another. And he hasn't really done much on the base. He's been very good defensively. He hasn't done much of the plate yet. He hit that thank you home run in the 9th inning the other night at Yankee Stadium, but it didn't mean a whole bunch in Game 2, I think it was. But he hasn't done anything else. I look for Chisholm Jr. to be the dark horse in this series for the Yankees, to maybe get off the schneid a little bit, to get himself a hit here, a hit there, and getting himself a little more embraced with the Yankee faithful, because I think it's very important for him to get off to a good start in this series, for the simple fact that he hasn't done much, and he can go and put his staple on the Yankees and how he plays, and he can get a little bit of a pat in the back, because I think he's obviously a confident fella, but a little confidence, a little more confidence will breed confidence, and I think that'll really help Jazz Chisholm Jr. moving forward with the Yankees. And you get a hit here and a hit there. All of a sudden, you're the guy that's getting the pat in the back. Because I'm concerned about Judge. Like, he's an all-time player and all that is. And I understand he's probably going to the Hall of Fame with his home run thing. But I really, really think that eventually he has to really do something with with his playoff situation because he hasn't been great, and it's well documented how bad he's actually been. So I'm really concerned with that because eventually, and you know what? It's not even eventually. He might not just be not a playoff guy. He might not be good enough in the playoffs where it gets between his ears, where it just doesn't get done. And so the other guys on the Yankees really have to step up a lot because Judge has been playoff Judge. It's not a small body work anymore. Like I'm concerned. This just might be who Aaron Judge is. This might be exactly who he is in playoffs. He puts together MVP like years every year in the American League, and he's a great player. There's no getting around that. I'm not disparaging Aaron Judge at all. I'm pro 99, man. I'm pro Judge. Like I'm all for Aaron Judge, but this is who he is in the playoffs. Until he proves us wrong, this is what he is, and he has to get better. He has to. They've been putting together some better at bats, but you know what? You know what better at bats get you? Still 0 for 3. Like you got to get base hits and home runs. That's why you're there, man. That's why you're getting the $40 million. Like, I know you don't get paid in the playoffs. Don't at me with all this stuff, but like he has to do something to take some heat off of a guy like Juan Soto. And Soto's got to put together get some pitches. If Judge can get going, then the Yankees won't be stopped. Because Soto's going to get some walks. Stanton's been good. I think Torres is going to be good enough. You never know what could happen with some other guys in that lineup. And I really think that, and who cares what you get up the middle? Like Torres has been good enough. But I think Chisholm Jr. and Verdugo, Verdugo's Verdugo. But if Judge can get rolling, these Yankees aren't going to be stopped. But if he is less than adequate, and that's what he's been. That's what he's been. He's been less than adequate so far. The Yankees are in for a long series, and if he's not the guy to get it going, Cleveland could win this series. Anybody, it's first to 4. And if you have a bad start, if they put Rodon in at any point, and I hope they don't, like I went through what I would do with the starting lineup first, or with the pitching staff for these playoffs, Rodon doesn't see the mound for 3 innings. He might see 3 innings in the 7 games. But he's not a starter. And if Aaron Boone has any sense, they have him as a 9:50 a.m. on Sunday morning here at the Yankee Tavern, North Lethbridge, Alberta. I haven't heard of what the starting rotation has been yet. But if Boone puts Rodon in, mark my words, the Yankees are going. This one's going 7 games, and especially he can't go game 1 because momentum. You got to get off you have to get off to a good start. Keep that Yankee crowd in it. Get that Yankee crowd going in the Bronx, that big ballpark in the Bronx wants to start going because they haven't had a bunch of chances to do anything yet. They really need to get something going. They really need to get something going because if they don't, they're in a heap of trouble. Friend of the show, Kevin Wilson, we got to get to talking some baseball. Judge needs to shine now. If not, that's definitely worth the conversation. If he doesn't get it done, that's exactly what I'm saying, Kevin. That's exactly what I'm saying. If he doesn't get something rocking and rolling soon, he is going to be going, he wasn't a playoff guy. And that stigma will go on with you forever. You're just another guy who can pad stats in the regular season. And that's not a legacy, man. I talked about with Aaron yesterday on the Brutally Honest Sports. And when he was on our show, we talked a lot about baseball. When your plaque goes up in Cooperstown, it says, 5-time world champion, Jeter. This May-time world champion. This time May-time world champion. If you don't win, there's your legacy. You have to win a world championship, and Judge can put a stamp on his career with this playoff run. He's got 8 games or 8 wins left to do it because he was not good in the first series, and good at bats don't mean nothing. I want actual hits. I want hits, doubles, triples, slugging percentage. I want the whole bit from Judge. If he does it, the Yankees won't be stopped. They won't be stopped in these playoffs. I think that they're better. I think they're better than everybody else talent-wise. I think they have just as much going on as anybody else. The Mets are going to be tough because of momentum and the way they've been playing. As we talked on Friday afternoon, but the Yankees have the most talent. Their bullpen is just as good as or better than anybody else's. They have the big dog in Garrett Cole, who should be a lockdown win every night. Judge has to be the guy to get it done. It's a lot of pressure, but that's what pressure gets you. Pinstripes are heavy. Mariano said it before. Pinstripes are heavy. And Aaron Judge has to lift this team to the promised land. If Judge has a better than average playoff or better than average championship series, the Yankees will win this series. Pretty simple. It's up to Aaron Judge, and it's up to Aaron Boone and that coaching staff to keep Rodon out in the bullpen. Be a matchup guy, because they're going to play. I think they're going to put 13 pitchers. I think they're going to have. Rodon can be a matchup guy, come out, Jesse Orozco, like back in the 80s and 90s, and Orozco, because Orozco played in those Cleveland teams back in the 90s as well. Orozco had a great gig. He pitched to one guy, go back, and that's it. But Rodon cannot see the mound as a starter. Cannot. My advice to you, Aaron Boone, I know you ain't going to watch this, but if somebody gets Boone's ear, tell him this. Keep Rodon in the bullpen and get Judge going. I know it sounds simple, but that's the key to success for these New York Yankees, and they will find themselves going to the World Series. If Judge isn't good, they ain't going. They ain't going because the game's going to get shortened down to 5 or 6 innings. It's going to get shortened down to 5 or 6 innings, but both sides, both teams. Yeah, there's been some late inning home runs throughout the playoffs. One yesterday for Cleveland to get to the World or to the championship series, but it gets shortened down pretty quick. And when it gets shortened down, one at bat can change the whole thing. The Yankees have to get moving tomorrow night. The Yankees have to get rolling tomorrow night. They got to score early and often, and get that Yankee Stadium crowd into the game right off the bat. Right when they start doing roll call, the whole way through, that place has to be rocking. Do not give Cleveland a breath because that team is young and dumb, and they do not know any different. They don't know any different. They want to go in there and they want to slay the dragon. They want to slay the giant. And that's what Cleveland's going to try to do tomorrow night. The Yankees are a better team. They have a clear path. Shouldn't say clear because there's someone sitting in front of them, but they have a very good path to get themselves to a world championship. I'm not saying anything about the World Series yet. They have a chance to get back to the World Series if Aaron Judge can put it together. If they can get decent starting pitching, just decent, not great, decent, innings eaters, they will go to the World Series. If Judge does not do it, then it's going to put extra pressure on Soto, and you don't know how long Stanton's legs are going to last. That's another wild card thing here. Stanton was great last series. If they gave out MVPs for the DS, he was probably the guy for the Yankees. He was probably their best player, clutch hits all over the place. Stole a base even somehow. Stole a base. Giancarlo Stanton. But how long is that going to last? How long is Stanton going to be the guy to make it last for the Yankees? His body's broke down. It's a long season. And you never know what he's going to come up with. We've seen him go in stretches before. We've seen him go in stretches that he just doesn't do anything. Where he goes 0 for the month. Not the month, but 0 for 2 weeks. And if he doesn't hit, and then Judge doesn't hit, they can pitch around Soto. And then you are relying on Jazz Chisholm Jr., who I do think is going to be the wild card in this, and I do think is going to be the guy to push him over the hump of the week. That's why they went out and got him. They didn't go out and get him for him to flap his gums. And that's all he's done so far. That's all he's really done is flap his gums. Put your money where your mouth is, Jazz, because you know what? It's going to be tough. They're going to be pointing their fingers. The New York media is going to be pointing their fingers at you if you don't start backing up what you've been saying. I like him, but they don't need Verdugo because Verdugo's actually been quite humble in comparison. I'm concerned that this team is going to come up lame at the plate tomorrow night. And like I said earlier, this team had this franchise doesn't have a bunch of momentum right now because of the way the schedule's been set up. They played 4 playoff games in what the playoffs been going on for 2 weeks. They've had 4 games. So Yankee fans haven't had a chance to hoot and holler yet. The team itself hasn't had a chance to hoot and holler yet. Yeah, they have those celebrations every time that they win a series and make that, and that's got to stop. Like that's actually got to stop. I know it's ridiculous for me to complain about this year in, year out, but I'm going to complain about it one more time. When you clinch a playoff spot with 3 weeks left, what are you doing? Spraying champagne. And then you clinch the wild card. Spraying champagne. Clinch the division. That's when you should spray champagne. Until you clinch a division to be the best in your division, that's the only time you should be doing that. It'd be like the NCAA tournament. When it's the round of 64, the first round. They ain't cutting the nets down. They wait till probably they go to the Final Four. They got to stop with these damn celebrations every week and a half. Man, oh man. And you wonder what like after like the regular season. You wonder in the regular season when they have their celebration after they clinch the playoff spot. You wonder what the team's record is the next day after they go out and Kryptonite Fantastic. You just wonder what the record might be. It's probably pretty interesting. But anyways, back to the Yankees and the Guardians. It should be a great series. I'll get a prediction in about a couple of minutes here. I'll get some other things to say. But the thing about this Cleveland team that scares me a little bit is there's a couple of guys that don't get enough credit throughout baseball. Maybe one guy out of these two that I'm going to mention, but Jose Ramirez is a hell of a player. He is one hell of a player that he can put a team on his back and do some damage. I know you only get one at bat every nine tries and on it goes, but this guy plays a great defense. He gets on base, he hits for power and he's a great leader. He took a bit of a haircut to stay in Cleveland, so he's got a vested interest to see this team can do something. He's been around there for a long time, and he's the kind of guy that can put a team on his back and say, you know what, we're the little engine that could, and we can get this done. Let's go out and slay the Yankees. Let's get this thing done. Ramirez is a hell of a player. He is one hell of a ball player. And Stephen Kwan, he can go on some runs there where this guy will get on base on and off, early and often. He will score a ton of runs. If this guy can get hot, which he has done in the past, remember a couple of years back, you couldn't get this guy out every time, and he plays a great defense. Every time that Kwan came up, it seemed like he was getting a hit or getting on base or getting smoked with a baseball and wearing one for the team and rubbing dirt on it and going down. These two guys could carry a team for a long time. So if you got 2 out of your 9 guys who you can rely on, which Cleveland can, they could do some damage to this playoff. And that's why tomorrow night's first inning is so important, because you got those 2 guys coming up early, and all of a sudden it's 2-0. It very well could be, because I don't have, like I said, if they put Rodon on there, it could be 2-0 early, and then the Yankees crowd's going to be very quiet. I mean, it has happened in the past. You remember in the wild card game in 2017 against Minnesota when Didi came up and tied that game up 3-3 after the Yankees were down 3-0 in the first, and it got back to 0, got back to even, and it came back. But if it gets down to 2-0 tomorrow, watch out for this Cleveland team. Watch out for Cleveland tomorrow night, because they don't have the Yankees. If they got to go to their bullpen really early, which I think they will if Rodon goes out there, this one could get scary tomorrow night, because I don't have much faith in this offense tomorrow night scoring a bunch of runs. I could be wrong, but I really think that if Cleveland has an opportunity tomorrow night to upset the Yankees in Game 1 in the Bronx, because the momentum that they have, getting that big win yesterday at home, and say, you know what, screw you, Yankees. Well, we're going to come in and play with the big boys. We don't have the $300 million payroll. We play in a smaller ballpark, and on it goes. But we haven't won a World Series. We want to bring one back to the city of Cleveland since 19 whatever it was. Been a long time since Cleveland's won a World Series. So Cleveland's playing for something. And with Ramirez and Kwan leading the charge offensively, look out. This Cleveland team tomorrow night could be a dark horse to win this game. That's why the Yankees starting pitching, they got to go with Schmidt. Go with the guarantee tomorrow night. I mean, obviously Cole would have been the guarantee, but he just pitched last game, so he just on regular rest. Go with Schmidt. Rodon maybe on some side pitching. I don't want to dwell on that anymore, but that's my thoughts. Should be a lot of fun to this series. We'll talk about maybe tomorrow. Actually, no, we should talk about that. Maybe I'll get back on later on this afternoon. We'll talk about the Dodgers and the Mets. Mets are good. Mets are really good. I think the Mets are going to win that series. I kind of hope the Mets win. I wouldn't mind seeing a Subway Series, but a Dodger-Yankee World Series would be fantastic as well. And I notice I didn't say Cleveland, but because I'm obviously cheering for the Yankees. Hey, we've got some news for what we're planning on doing throughout the rest of the playoffs with the Yankees, how it's all going to play out, what we want to do pregame, postgame, and then in between land. So it's going to be pretty Yankee-centric here at the Yankee Tavern North. Surprise for the upcoming. Could be hopefully it's next 3 weeks. You never know what could happen with Yankee baseball. But anyways, it's been a lot of fun. Here's a little word from our friends over there at SeatGeek.
Join me as I take a deep dive into the least consulted ticketing app in history, SeatGeek. Did SeatGeek invent the ticket?
No, but we do make them work.
Drum roll, please. Ooh, how do I use the Seat View feature?
It shows seats with a pole blocking the view. Don't buy those.
What if I want to sit behind a pole?
Buy those.
Join me as I bore you to death with a series of interviews about a ticketing app that just does what it's supposed to do.
Anyways, the plan for the remainder of these the Yankees playoff run here is to every day before the game, like if the game's tomorrow night, it's at 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Check your local listing. I'm going to go on at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, do a little prediction show, maybe have a couple of pre-gamers and get the people rolling a little bit. Hopefully we get some momentum. We have some people come on and watch the show along with us. And if they're taking the subway to the game, maybe they get to have my face on there. We'll have a couple of beers and talk about how the Yankees will get some interaction going with the fans and with people that are, or people at home while watching the game as well. We'll do something like that, have some fun before the game, have a pre-game show. And then when the Yankees are done, probably about 10, 20 minutes after the game is done each and every night, we'll have a quick 10 to 20 minute little quick hitter on the Yankees. I'll be up all up on YouTube and Facebook, and just check where it's going on our socials. So that should be a lot of fun. So that's kind of the plan moving forward with the Yankees playoff, and it's be a lot of fun. Actually, we're getting some new couches down here at the Yankee Tavern North, so that's kind of interesting. All of a sudden, the wife wants to watch baseball. It's kind of funny how she couldn't take it. So we're getting some new couches down here. I'm fine because I got some old Yankee Stadium seats down here that I just sit in. I get too nervous. I'm just standing up the entire time, but it should be a lot of fun here at the Yankee Tavern North during the rest of this Yankees playoff run. Let's get some momentum on this thing. Let's go Yankees. Let's see if they can't win themselves. Number 28. I don't really care about that whole chase for 28. I care about now. If not now, then when? And that's the biggest question I have right now for the Yankees and for their fans, is that if they don't get something done now, what's the plan? Because if let's just say, for sake of conversation, I talked with Ryan Finkelstein about this on Friday. Let's just say that it's a Yankees Mets World Series, and the Mets go and win a World Series, or it's a Mets Cleveland World Series, and the Mets go and win one. Is Soto leaving? Is Soto going, you know what, these guys already won one. They're closer to winning another one. And the Yankees haven't won one, and their window's slowly closing. Judge isn't getting younger. Stanton's not getting younger. Cole's not getting younger. They're still dominant players, obviously. But if the Mets and Steve Cohen's got some deep pockets, like whatever anybody offers, Cohen can give them more. So if the Yankees don't get one this year, then when? And is Soto leaving? It's a very interesting little storyline that's coming up for the next few weeks in these playoffs, and it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out. But I suspect that Soto's probably going to stick around. But you know what, money talks, and if he can get an extra 48 cents on the dollar from Cohen across the street, he's probably going to take it. I mean, Boris is his agent, so you can't see why he wouldn't. But let's not worry about next year. Let's worry about this year. Let's worry about tomorrow night with the Yankees playing the Cleveland Guardians and what should be one hell of a series. Let's get the place rocking. Let's get to the people in the Bronx. Let's have a great time during this thing. If you're going to Stan's beforehand, have a good time. If you're going to Billy's, or if you're going over to making the little trek up the road over to my favorite, Tony and the guys up at the Yankee Tavern, the actual Yankee Tavern. The first place I stopped when I went to New York back in 2013. I took the cab all the way out there from LaGuardia. I didn't know what I was doing or where I was going, but I saw the cab pulled up, stopped in front of the Yankee Tavern, and I say, you know what? That's where I'm going to go. That's where I'm going in there. And Mike and the guys, beer was really cheap in the afternoon. It was about $4 cheaper prior to 2 hours before game time. But the Yankee Tavern, that was my first stop. And I have a bit of rotation that I'll probably share with Yankee fans moving forward as these playoffs get going. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to these playoffs. Looking forward to get a little momentum in this series, because, like I said, the Yankees have played 4 games so far, but they've been all spaced out, and we haven't been able to get that baseball, that playoff feel yet. And I really hope that this happens in the next coming days and get that place rocking tomorrow night, Yankee fans. Let's get this place. Let's get a little momentum with the show. Watch the show tomorrow night, the hour before game time. We'll be on here at the Yankee Tavern North on YouTube. So make sure you guys tune in. We'll have like I said, we'll have a couple of beers. We'll have some laughs. We'll have some discussions with Yankee fans and what we expect to see game in. And then, like I said, 10 minutes after every game, we'll be live here on YouTube to talk, and Facebook and everywhere else to talk about how the game went, and hope we're talking about 8 more Yankee wins on their chase for number 28. So there it is. That's today's Yankee report, I guess, 14-20 style from the Yankee Tavern North here in Lethbridge, Alberta. Let's have some fun with this. 8 wins to go. Go Yankees, and remember, it doesn't matter where you are. It's who you're with. And as always, smart people bunt. Here's a little word from our friends over there at Righteous Felon Jerky. Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at righteousfelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky. You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with the sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.